When you get rid of 8 million illegals, you know what happens? Crime goes down, rent goes down, health insurance goes down, car insurance goes down. Those things
aren't happening.
Okay, we're just getting started, Jessica.
Oh, okay.
It's supply and demand. What do you think is going to happen when you get 8 million?
At least we're getting started, Jessica. You guys didn't do crap.
That's not true.
It lowers everything. That means classrooms
more people.
get lighter.
Jessica Tarlov gets dragged back down to reality by Jesse Waters and pretty much everyone on the panel. And no matter how hard she tries, she can't lie, deny, or deflect her way out of this one. Let's get into it.
DHS says 2 Nicaragua members were arrested. ProPublica talked to one of them, no criminal record there, and no charges filed at this point. So when they did that slick video, right, you know, where Kristi Noem descends, right, and she has on her little vest and she's standing there as Ice Barbie or whatever, like, it makes you think, why aren't you doing worst first and making good on your promises to the American people, not the mass deportation people, the average Americans who said we don't want an open border. We want people who've committed crimes in this country on American soil to get out of here, instead of things that are just for, like, making a movie.
Jessica, you're like the person in a store.
I'm just perfect.
You're like the person in a store who knocks over a vase, and then you start criticizing the way the guy cleans it up.
No, it's more than that. And I've said, there have been over 170 Americans that have been taken into ICE custody, that you cannot even say that this is being executed in the wrong way. It boggles my little mind.
Jessica, 2 million in 1 year are gone. So according to my calculations, that will be 8 million by the end of this term.
It won't be.
So when you get rid of 8 million illegals, you know what happens? Crime goes down, rent goes down, health insurance goes down, car insurance goes down. Those things
aren't happening.
Okay, we're just getting started, Jessica. It's supply and demand. What do you think is going to happen when you get 8 million?
At least we're getting started, Jessica. You guys didn't do crap.
That's not true.
It lowers everything. That means classrooms
more people.
get lighter.
Wait, what? It's stuff like this that makes me wonder if Jessica ever thinks before she speaks. Did she really just try to defend the way Joe Biden handled immigration?
Border scraps for sale and on the cheap, indeed. In their last weeks, the Biden administration is set to auction off sections of the border wall before President Trump takes office. Minimum opening bid starts at $5 for 20 tons of taxpayer-funded steel.
Good morning, Bill. You know, this has been a debacle from the very beginning when President Biden stopped construction of the border wall on his first day in office, abandoning millions of tons of steel. So where is it now? Well, huge sections we found yesterday being trucked away from the border, being sold as scrap for pennies on the dollar. Even though President Biden knows the incoming administration wants this material, he is selling it. Hundreds of tons of state-of-the-art finished steel wall for almost nothing at auction sites like this one near Tucson, meaning taxpayers will likely pay twice for the same stuff. Now, the Biden team already sold most of an estimated $350 million worth of lights, wires, and these expensive steel bollards. According to the government auction site that they're using now, Biden is taking bids starting around $5 for each 40,000-pound lot of finished steel.
You know, I guess in a sense she's right. He did do something, although she might have twisted reality on what it actually was. And now that Trump is attempting to undo the damage that's been caused, we've seen nonstop protests. And now the protesters have decided to make others just as miserable as they are, because there's truly no other way to explain this.
Lowers everything. That means classrooms
more people.
get lighter. That means everything goes down, Jessica. Wages go up, crime goes down. It's very simple. Even you can understand it. Now, why would ICE be at Home Depot? Why would these illegal aliens be at Home Depot? Because you said they weren't coming to steal jobs. You said they weren't coming to cut our wages and wire the money back to Honduras. You said they were fleeing persecution, and these were all asylees. They were just fleeing violence. Okay, again, everything you said was wrong. Home Depot's having a great quarter. Did you know they beat expectations? $41 billion in revenue. And when the rates drop, the stock's going to pop. That's how that works, too.
Oh, Jessica, nothing gets people sympathetic to your cause by making their lives difficult. What is it with you leftists? Always throwing paint on things, causing disturbances, blocking traffic, and now attacking Home Depot. They had to close their business because of you people, Jessica. People like you.
What are you buying today?
I'm buying ice scraper.
Oh, yeah. What are you buying today?
I am buying an anvil putty knife.
An ice scraper.
Yes,
That's
ice scraper.
No, not so much. But I did figure out why it was an ice scraper like later than I should have.
Ice
yeah.
scraper.
Obviously, faux outrage over how Maxine Waters talks. Like
this is an important press conference that is being held to let you know what we're all doing, resisting this low down, dirty, no good, filthy president. How do you really?
We just played.
I don't care about that. I care about this. That's why I asked you this
about
question, Jessica. Stick to the topic, please.
Okay, I'll stick to the topic.
She really can't help herself. It's like deflecting comes second nature. But Greg caught on to her little scheme and stopped her from trying to divert the conversation.
But please.
Okay, I'll stick to the topic, and I'll do what you love when I do, which is to say, Donald Trump has taken his best issue and thrown it in the gutter because of how immigration policy is being carried out. Because it's these kinds of stunts. There was a big investigation. ProPublica did it into that. Remember that September 30th, that night raid on the south side of Chicago apartment complex, where they used Black Hawk helicopters, and there were 300 agents from Border Patrol, SWAT teams, FBI agents. They're hauling people out of their houses, and they're saying, like, these are all Trenda Aragua. And guess what? Federal prosecutors haven't fired charges against anyone who was arrested. I wonder why that is.
Jessica sure has a lot to say about how ICE is handling their operations in order to make our country safer. But did she give the families who suffered devastating losses at the hands of illegal immigrants that much concern or even airtime? I don't recall. But when it comes to bashing Donald Trump for keeping his promise to America and cleaning house after the destruction of the last 4 years, she jumps right on the bandwagon because that's what fits her narrative.
We talk about the alleged 170 Americans in the custody, and I feel for anyone going through anything at the hands of a bureaucracy or a structure that's larger than they are. But let's also talk about the 113,000+ illegal immigrants with massive criminal histories arrested just in 2024, which included over 3,000 with homicides. Where are those activists? Where were they at the funerals of Bambi Larson and Jocelyn Nungari and Laken Riley? That I feel that the crickets we hear with all of these people patting themselves on the back, and including the Maxine Waters, they're flying over to Venezuela and they're flying to El Salvador and let's have martinis. And not one of them is calling an angel mom. Not one of them is actually articulating the pain that Americans feel, whether it's from drunk drivers or whether it's from recidivist criminals and homicides and rapes and so much more, to even acknowledge the presence. And the delusion that I see with these people who are then called faux outrage about it. Her words matter. Maxine Waters' words matter. And it is a tragedy and a travesty to me that she still holds office and she is somehow forgiven, because whether it's that she's old or quirky or curmudgeon-y, and somehow she is allowed to get by being so drastically damaging with her words, and not one person holds her to account.
Jessica wants to sit up there and whine about the way Trump is handling immigration. Well, she's in for some bad news, because according to Tom Homan, we haven't seen anything yet. Oh yeah, and he also has a little message for all the Democrats who are sympathizing with criminals.
Don't have sanctuary policies that disallow local law enforcement from providing intelligence to ICE and other federal law enforcement. They can't do that because of people like Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker and even Maxine Waters. What the hell has she done with her tenure in Congress other than be an absolute mouth-farting blowhard?
Mouth-farting, you say? Is that possible? I do think that this is a trend in every issue with Democrats. It's compassion without accountability. You bring in the accountability, they hate the process.
House Oversight Dems are defending this ICE tracker that we mentioned earlier, writing that it's not a live tracking system, doesn't monitor officer movements or reveal private info or put any individual at risk. It just compiles possible misconduct and abuses. So is that okay?
No, so bottom line is, if you support illegal immigration, then you support the criminal cartels of Mexico. Because no one crosses the border illegally without paying a plaza fee to the criminal cartels. And I'm going to remind everybody, and I'm going to keep reminding these Democrats, where were you the last 4 years? Well, we had over 10 million people come to our border. We had 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl coming across the open border. We had a record number of people from terrorist-sponsored countries coming across the border. Sex trafficking women and children are at a historic high. You let 500,000 children be smuggled in the United States. You lost track of 300,000. You weren't even looking for them. It's the Trump administration and President Trump's leadership where we've already found over 30,000 of them. We're not going to let them forget. You are complicit in the biggest national security failure, the biggest humanitarian failure in the history of this nation. So you can scream and yell and do all these apps you want, but we're not going to let you forget. You are complicit. You support illegal immigration, then you support criminal cartels in Mexico. And when they smuggle people, they smuggle guns, they smuggle dope. So that's who you're supporting. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. And if they don't know that, they're just simply ignorant.
A week from the beginning of the administration. And even if you keep going at the pace you're going at, that's a dent in the illegal alien population. People would deport, who are deportable aliens right now. So what do you say to those people who say, this is great, but it's nowhere near enough?
Then come put a badge and gun on and give us a hand. ICE is hiring record numbers. Bottom line is, I just said just about 650,000 deportations. That is several 100,000 more than the record that was back in 2012. So it was already a historic operation. Second of all, you got to consider the people who have left the country out of fear of being deported. There's over 1.6 million of them. So there's well over 2.2 million left the country already. And that's been the part of the plan from the beginning. We knew if we send over 1,000 ICE teams out there across the country, we send a message to the whole world. You enter this country illegally, we're looking for you. And by sending that message, by having anything, ICE is one of the reasons we have the most secure border in the history of the nation right now, because people aren't coming because they know there's consequences. So between the record number of deportations, the record number of self-deports, we're already had an historic deportation operation. But hold on tight, we're hiring 10,000 more. That's going to be on duty by mid-January. That's tripling the size of enforcement removal operations. So if you think the numbers are historic now, wait till next year.
Well, that's music to my ears.
I feel like the more furious the left gets, the better Trump must be doing. It's like we're at a point where you could practically measure his success by the volume of Democrat outrage. The madder they get, the more obvious it becomes that Trump's policies are working. And I don't think anything sends them over the edge more than our president keeping his promise. I think that's what really gets under their skin, because honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with his policies. It's not the numbers, and I don't think it's the deportations themselves, because we all just heard Jessica say Biden deported, although I think she might have meant imported. And no one was crying when Obama was, how is it they like to frame it, separating families. So no, I don't think it's the deportations that's got them in an uproar, but I truly think it's the fact that Trump is following through on his promises. They're so used to politicians who talk big, lie bigger, and when they get in office, they do absolutely nothing. And that's what they can't stand about Trump. He isn't your average politician. He's a businessman who has a plan to try to save our nation. He made promises and he's sticking to them. And maybe they're afraid that Americans will start expecting this level of action, that this will become the new political standard. And if that's the case, the Democrats don't stand a chance. They know it, and that's why they're panicking. And when Jessica tried to defend one of the biggest disasters in modern political history, I felt like she was trying to insult our intelligence. She really sat up there and tried to paint Biden's immigration as effective, as if this chaos wasn't created under their watch. But when it comes to Trump ramping up deportations, cleaning up the streets, that's what she has a problem with. And if she really believes what she said, then why is she so offended by Trump doing the exact same thing? It doesn't make any sense. The only explanation to this is that she's not really upset about the deportations themselves, but upset that Trump is the one doing them, because we all know Orange Man bad. Last I checked, he wasn't importing millions, overwhelming cities, or draining resources. But then again, we have to remember, Jessica lives in denial. She can't even tell how embarrassingly obvious her double standards are. And did you notice how she got all snarky calling Kristi Noem Ice Barbie? I'm gonna be honest, this sounded like a whole lot of jealousy in her tone. I'm just saying. But seriously, I think the best part of all of this was the fact that Jessica got shut down by every single person at that table. She couldn't deny her way out of it. She couldn't deflect her way out of it. She couldn't lie her way out of it. Although she definitely tried. I think her outrage confirms that Trump's approach is working, and that the era of pretending everything is fine is finally over.